It became really exhausting. It's really hard. And then I was thinking, what the hell is wrong with you guys? I'm a nice guy. What's wrong with you? It took me 3 years to understand that I should have changed the view. It was nothing wrong necessarily with that. It was nothing necessarily wrong with me. It was with the communication and expectation. That was the very main issue. At that time, when I failed and failed and failed, then I realized that there is a problem, I should do something about it. Being a good physio is completely different than being a good businessman. And I started taking some training. And as I started taking training, things changed. To the extent that I can say at this time, almost all of our staff, they have been there for a long time. If they have left, it has been just changing life, they moved away, one retired, something like that. And even everybody that has left, it has been on very good terms. So those issues are the thing of the past. As I started to basically taking some training, one of the best trainings that I ever took, I went to Vegas. I hired this consultant on one-on-one. I paid him $100 American, $100 American dollar every hour for 5 days, $4,000. As you can imagine, it was that important to me that I was ready to go the distance and to take this training. The training included a manual that was about 10, 15 pages, maybe 40, 50 sentences in it. And to be honest, he did not teach me anything specific. However, that was one of the best courses that I learned. What he did, he asked me questions. The question was, so what is the most challenging thing for you at your business? Then I would list a few. He would say, no, the most challenging. The most challenging is one, not a few. Then I would say, okay, this is the one. Then he would say, what is the second most important? Then I would say that. So it basically just went on, we made a list. So that's where we'll just take care of the top three. What is the solution to the first one? He was just asking me a question, and honestly, that was it. And but it didn't matter if I said that my answer was right or wrong, because he didn't have as much knowledge about what is going inside, or if my answer really, kind of related properly to the, to the problem. He would ask further questions, challenging me on that answer. At the end of the course, I really felt one thing, that I can solve a lot of problems to a good extent on my own, or I can realize them to a good extent on my own. And since then, I developed this habit of, using Google and YouTube and studying more and more and more and more. So a lot of it was really that. I know that there are a lot of, not such so good, information online, but there are a lot of good ones online. If somebody starts searching for this kind of things, I would say there are a lot of good ones online. And then during this, after doing these things, I learned a few principles. And one was that in order to have a good society or a good business, a good structure is more important than having good people or good employees. I believe in Iraq or in Syria or a lot of other countries that they have such a big turmoil, a lot of people are good people. Just they don't have the right structure. That is the very main thing. I have come to this conclusion that really we don't have bad people, we have bad ideas. The second thing, the main source of work or interpersonal problems, again, are communication and expectations. And communications, I don't mean just the English as a language. I mean that, did you hear me? So it has become a habit for myself that I reiterate if there are something that, did you mean this? And they would really encourage the same thing. I remember we were doing some renovation, and the plumber, there were two of them that they were working, and then one of them said that I want something, a pipe with this description. As soon as he said, I understood, although I'm not a plumber, but I understood what he wants. But this guy, he thought the same thing, that he understood. But if it was me, I would have asked a bit more clarification. He didn't, and he started cutting the pipe. And then afterwards, he realized that the pipe was a little bit short, because he was not very clear on some aspect of it. And that caused a lot of basically extra work, because they had to do a lot of redo the job and a lot of waste. So a lot of it was simply because of the communication. Another thing is expectation. When, for example, people don't know really what's expected of them, especially when it comes to, because of that, we can't sometimes work together, because the expectations change, or they are not laid out very clearly. And another thing that, again, I learned during this course was that interpersonal skills are not just talking nicely, but much more importantly is to follow a structure and framework, even if that is not the best structure and framework. In another word, having a poor structure is better than having no structure. And sometimes when, for example, we see, again, as a new employees or newcomers, doesn't matter what the concept we use it, we go somewhere and say that, oh, that's okay, we don't have to necessarily follow this and that. Oh, that's extra. As soon as we do that, we are, basically making it no structure, because everybody thinks for himself. And that is why that I say we need more followers than leaders to have a good society. And some people may think that, this is not right. As a matter of fact, as an immigrant that I came to Canada, that was my first feeling, that the Canadians are following a lot easier. And I looked at it as a bad thing, by the way. Although that's a good thing. I'm not sure if this has been the experience with other newcomers, to find out that, as I said, in Western world, normally they follow a little bit. When I say Western world, I should say Canada, because I have been here, but that they follow things a lot easier than what we did back home. Back home, everybody has an opinion, and so between two people, there are three bosses. That becomes the problem. At the end, I would like to, have this recommendation that people, they go and ask my family members, Google and YouTube, these questions, to get a little bit more education about it. One is active listening. So if, as I was talking, some of you guys were thinking, oh my God, this and that, probably you were not the active listener. Not to, just sit and listen, and then afterwards, make, some, again, get some more information and start, learning about it, or ask some questions before making judgments. The second thing is critical thinking. By Googling that, I'm sure, especially on YouTube, there are a lot of good information on what critical thinking is. That's very, very crucial. The other one is yes, no question. And the other one, open-ended question, to understand how these questions they go. And I would really recommend that, if we just get used to asking those open-ended questions as much as possible. And a lot of times that becomes like that instructor that I had, that with those open-ended questions and challenging, you help the other party to understand the right way to do things. You make them more independent. Another one would be how to be honest with oneself. That's a very important one as well. After all, my success and happiness depends on your success and happiness. Let us make life better for all of us. Thank you. So if anybody has any questions or something, or comments? No comments? Just questions?
When was the last time you ate at McDonald's? I'm North American, I'm very proud.
I just get the coffee.
Yeah, the coffee's not bad.
With some fries in it.
To be honest, ice cream.
Oh, yeah.
Ice
Ah,
cream.
that was good.
I found it very interesting that you said that you would have liked to see more orientation in when you were first working or when you were first in Canada.
Mhm.
And I just, and I'm putting that in context, like Lal and I are working at a clinic where we do income tax, and we have a lot of newcomers to Canada. It's a voluntary clinic. We do it for voluntary, for Revenue Canada. So we have a lot of immigrants or.
Probably 400 in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Immigrants.
You know, newcomers to Canada. Plus, we also work with them. So I'm just curious about expanding on that idea of volunteering, either when we're sitting across the desk for them.
That's why we came here today, just to
Yeah,
get a better understanding of who we're working with.
Yeah.
You know, language issues, the culture where you say, have something, and they say yes, and really the answer is no, they want to agree.
Right.
But I wanted to hear the no, and they say yes, well, I'm off this way, and they should be off that way.
Yeah, it's just,
Different cultures.
yeah.
Very frequently it happens, I know that, sometimes they haven't heard, or just the word, the English word. That was actually a question some time ago that, that language is more important what is the most important barrier? Language is culture. I would say culture, not the language. Because if culturally, I'm strong enough to admit that I don't know, I'm gonna come and ask you, I will learn it. Learning skills is easy. Changing behaviors is not. So, a suggestion that I have is that to ask them, what did I say? What is the meaning of that word to you? You might be surprised, or they haven't heard it,
Sometimes
or they
I
have
hear-
a wrong understanding of it.
Sometimes I hear that what they're saying is, yes, I heard you, rather than, yes, I understand you, rather than yes to the answer to the question. It's kind of,
And for that, again, ask them, so what did I say?
yeah, I should have,
Yeah.
just wrote down, some more. Yeah.
It's just that put them in that position because they should realize and to make them comfortable to say that, look, it's a good thing if you don't know, because you make a mistake once, maybe twice, but you will fix it. But if otherwise you just can't wing it for the rest of your life, that doesn't work. As a matter of fact, at any given time, believe it or not, at this point in my life, on my phone, I have about maybe 30 to 40 browsers open myself, studying new words. Not just new, as a matter of fact, even the words that I know and I use. I just try to understand the definition exactly and the extent that it goes. And I have been doing this for the past, I would say 7-8 months, and I can see the change that has happened, the extent of the meaning. And I really recommend that to anybody else. When it comes to the English, or a language to learn is not that big of a deal, in all honesty. We have phone, we have internet, Google is there to do that for you very easy. And it's just rather a skill, you can learn it. But again, that change of behavior becomes a bit challenging. That becomes a challenge on any one of us, as you as an employer or when you get new people. Again, just to, I really recommend, again, I'll go back to that thing that I did in Vegas with that training. Ask questions, ask them to clarify, get them to become, if they start realizing that they don't know, they will do something about it. A lot of times they don't know that they don't know, and that's the problem. Any other questions? No comments? If, again, at any time, if you want to send any question, if you come up with something, please don't hesitate to send it to the same meetings at gmail.com. Again, the feedbacks are really important to me. I would really appreciate it if you do that. You can put them together. I would not make a guess that who did that so that I come and chase you after. I really appreciate it. Again, don't sugarcoat it. Sugar is not good, and I don't read that much. So don't expect me to read or read between the lines. Don't do that to me. You're torturing me otherwise.
What is you and I meetings?
Yeah, actually, U stands for unite, and I for innovate.
Oh,
It just happened that it became you and I, with that. And I'm hoping that, basically the concept of, everybody comes together. Because you cannot change people from a distance. You cannot say that you go do that. That's not how it works. You have to come and join, and then when you understand it inside out, then you can innovate it. We do know that there are a lot of challenges and faults in the system. We know that. But yet we have one of the best systems. I strongly believe that in the world, in this country. Do we need to change some of the things? Absolutely. But myself, as a Canadian, I would not be too pleased to see somebody from outside come and tell me you should do that. From a human aspect of it, I would rather to come and feel that you're one of us. However, you see some fault, sure. We know that we have faults. We will fix it. So thanks everyone for coming in.
The video will be available on YouTube and Facebook just in case.
Yeah, actually, yeah, we will have this soon after. We will just edit some parts probably.
Right, anyway.
Maybe.
Couple of
But
years.
we will make it a bit shorter, in different pieces. We'll have it on YouTube. I would appreciate it if you find it of value to just send it to share it with others, please. Thanks again.